Let's face it, your odds of winning the lottery are seriously slim, but you have a much better chance of winning the food lottery. This, my friends, is when you pay for food only to get way more than you first thought, like pouring a bowl of cereal and finding a huge chunk of chocolate in there, or picking up a berry from the bunch that's mind-blowingly big. It's a winning feeling unlike any other. So let's keep that serotonin flowing as we take a look at some super lucky people who hit the food jackpot. Is there anything better than reaching the bottom of a bag of chips and pouring all those leftover chip bits into your mouth? Well, if this person had tried that with the last nuggets of their cheesy Cheetos, they might have given themselves a concussion. These absolute units are so much bigger than a regular Cheeto, their finder had to bring in a banana for scale. It looks like an extruder at the Cheeto factory malfunctioned, accidentally fusing the chips cornmeal mixed together into a couple of supremely cheesy nuggets of joy. But it's not always Cheetos chips that end up as chunks. This guy was lucky enough to find a colossal clump of flamin' hot seasoning at the bottom of his packet. If you love the flamin' hot burn like me, this phenomenal ball of flavor could be crushed up and used to season everything you cook. Or true fans might just want to take a huge bite out of it. Though I dread to think what that burn feels like coming out of your other end. What's your favorite way to eat a marshmallow? Is it melted in the middle of a s'more, or after it's been roasted on an open fire? Well, if you bought this bag, I reckon you'd end up slurping that super long one up like a big chewy noodle. Normally, factory-produced marshmallows like this are made up of rapidly whipped gelatin, sugar, and starch, which is shaped into long tubes by extruders before being cut. But it looks like this marshmallow's cutting blade broke, which has left a marshmallow snake surprise in the bag. Kit Kats are crunchy wafer biscuits coated in a delicious silky chocolate, but not everyone who bites into them gets the crunch they expect. This guy bit into his king-sized Kit Kat to discover there was no wafer in it at all. It was just one solid block of chocolate, which to serious chocoholics like me is like hitting the candy jackpot. But Kit Kat's makers, Nestle, claim these abnormal, waferless candy occasionally occur because of malfunctions with its manufacturing equipment. Well, in my humble chocolate-obsessed opinion, I think they should turn these abnormal bars into a brand new kind of Kit Kat. Speaking of new creations, if you want to stay up to date with all my latest videos, then be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below. Trust me, the videos I've got in the works are going to be a real feast for the eyes. Now, where were we? After more than a year in lockdown, I bet you're all sick of hearing the word Corona. Although this Corona beer box might bring the word back into your good books. As this box was being packed, an extra bottle must have fallen in undetected before it was sealed up and shipped off to this lucky customer. What's even more amazing is despite being balanced against the other fragile beer bottles, it didn't break on its way there. This might be the only time where having more Corona is actually a good thing. In my humble opinion, the best part of any drumstick ice cream is the chunk of chocolate encased in the tip of the waffle cone. You can't deny it's like a bite-sized snack from God's own dessert tray. And it's so popular that some brands even increase the size of this tip just to keep their customers coming back for more. But that's nothing compared to getting a second tip for free, like this lucky licker, who found a whole other tip hiding at the bottom of the drumstick wrapper. I mean, that win is so good, it might as well be 2 whole drumsticks. Is there anything more appetizing than the crunchy golden puff pastry of a classic French croissant? Well, cutting into one and finding this astonishing cross-section might be. I wouldn't know whether to eat the croissant or just feast my eyes on it. This kind of rise comes from the laminated nature of the pastry's dough, which combines layers of flour and water combined with butter. When baked, the steam released from the dough causes the pastry to expand, but the fat in the butter stops the layers from gluing together, giving us these brilliant bubbles. Even so, it's rare to see a croissant with such perfectly spaced holes. Is it wrong that I kinda hope he didn't eat it? But it's not just the French that can bake up delicious-looking delicacies. Over in Eastern Europe and Russia, everyone from youngins to babushkas still enjoy the traditional treat of poppy seed roll. Made with a rich, bittersweet center of poppy seeds and sugar, the filling of this swirled snack is most people's favorite part. But sadly, a lot of companies and bakers tend to skimp on the sweet center. Fortunately, these two treat seekers discovered a bakery that really makes up for it. With that much filling, I feel full just looking at this picture. Now, have you ever won the food lottery and taken a photo of it? Maybe it was a giant grape that you couldn't resist posting on Instagram, or perhaps you opened a sewing kit tin to find biscuits inside. If you've got some good ones, send me a message at stories@beamazed.com and they might just make it into a future video. Now, let's get back to this lottery. Nothing is more refreshing than a sweet slice of watermelon, particularly if it looks as pristine as this. With almost no rind and barely any visible seeds, this crimson cross-section looks so refreshing, I can almost feel it cleansing my soul. But getting a seedless watermelon like this isn't just luck, it's engineered. Back in the 1990s, watermelon breeders discovered that selectively breeding different watermelon strains gave them few or no seeds. Even so, the odds of also getting one with such a thin rind makes this melon 1 in a million. Having no rind or seeds in your watermelon must feel good, but what if you cut into it and discovered it was also missing its classic crimson color, like this guy did? It looks like a pineapple and a watermelon fell in love and had a baby. While that yellow flesh is certainly surprising to some, it's actually a natural mutation. In fact, the originator of our red-fleshed commercial variety, which comes from Africa, is a yellow or white-fleshed fruit. Not only that, but it also has a honey-like flavor, which makes this a colorful and sweet surprise. Have you ever bought a bunch of berries and found one that's much bigger than all its seeded siblings? Well, some of them, like this one, grow so large it wouldn't look out of place shooting steroids and pumping iron at the gym. Some people assume monster strawberries like these are the result of genetic modification, or GMO for short. But there's actually no genetically engineered strawberries approved for commercial sale anywhere in the world. They're more likely the result of hybridization, where different strains of strawberries are crossbred to produce belly-busting berries. And some, like these, can even grow to the size of small oranges. But hopefully they still taste like strawberries. Just about every brunch-obsessed basic Becky will tell you they're like so addicted to avocado on toast, OMG! But for all their love of brunch, avocados are a fickle fruit. Because from the outside, there's no way to tell how big their seed at the center is. So you have to cross your fingers, cut in, and pray that you don't get a cursed stone-to-flesh proportion like this. But if the gods of brunch do hear your prayers, you might be blessed with these epic proportions. Or, even better yet, no seed at all, like this. Seedless avocados occur when the blossom that produces the avocado is unpollinated, so its fruit develops without any seeds inside. Now just imagine how much toast that big boy will cover. If those seedless avocados got you salivating, then you'll need a mop and bucket on standby for what I'm about to show you. Say hello to the Longneck avocado, a specialty species of the great green fruit that grows up to 13 inches long and weighs up to 2.5 pounds. Whoa, I hope you're really hungry. It may look like a regular avocado on steroids, but surprisingly, it's an all-natural species that's mainly grown in southern Florida. And as I say that, I imagine all the basic Becky brunchers are already booking their plane tickets to the Sunshine State. Have you ever been asked to help make dinner by cutting up a few carrots? It only takes a few minutes at most, but if you were faced with either of these colossal carrots, I think you'd be there all evening. The longer of the two appears to be more than twice the length of this lady's hand, meaning it must be around 13 inches long, and the wider one is about the same width as her palm, making it about 3 inches wide. Their lucky owner hilariously named them Length and Girth, but even after they're cooked, I think they're still gonna be a massive mouthful. A lot of savory recipes call for a single clove of garlic to make the dish taste and smell sublime. So when this person tried to peel one off only to discover the entire bulb was a single giant clove, they must have considered adding the whole thing into the pot. This is actually called solo garlic, although I reckon it should be called Dracula's worst nightmare.
It's grown through specific planting practices, which encourage the cloves to fuse into one big orb.
Now, is it just me, or does anyone else feel weirdly tempted to take a big bite out of it? Everybody loves chicken nuggets, unless they're vegan. But I think even a vegan would rejoice if they saw this superb selection in front of them. The lucky lad who opened this packet found 3 totally normal nuggets along with these 2 super long chicken chunks inside. It'd be nice to think that those are miscut sections of juicy chicken breast, but it's more likely that they're uncut strands of the mechanically separated chicken that makes up some cheaper chicken nuggets. Ugh. Well, at least they taste good. Speaking of chickens, have you ever cracked open an egg to find not 1 but 2 yolks inside like this guy? That looks pretty lucky, but his winning streak wasn't just 1 double yolker. He actually got 4. Now that's what I call a breakfast of champions. Multiple yolk eggs occur when a hen's ovulation cycle occurs more rapidly than usual, or when one yolk becomes joined with another yolk. But according to the experts, the odds of finding a double yolker is just 1 in 1,000. So this phenomenal 4 in a row makes this a magical 1 in a trillion moment. Yeah, that's a 1 with 12 zeros. So this guy either had the gods of breakfast on his side, or these eggs were specially farmed. You see, the odds of young hens laying double yolkers is much higher at just 1 in 100. Even so, the odds of getting 4 in a row would remain high at 1 in a billion. While that's still slim, it's nothing compared to the odds of cracking open an octo yolk like this lady did. Not even the experts have hazarded a guess at what the odds of this happening are. But I think the real question on everyone's lips is, did it taste like pure luck? Though it's not just chicken eggs that can double up. The person who cracked this Kinder Surprise egg, or should I say Twinder Surprise egg, was blessed with a second chocolate egg inside their chocolate egg. Usually, there's only 1 chocolate shell beneath the wrapper. But this incredible eggception really puts the surprise in Kinder Surprise. You might have seen a double yolk or 2 in your time, but have you ever seen a double banana before? This guy clearly chose the best banana in the bunch when he picked up this double-barreled prize. According to the experts, around 5% of bananas grow into double fingers, but most are discarded because they don't meet fruit trading standards. But if there's only a 5% chance of finding a double, what do you think the odds were of discovering this triple?
Oh, baby, a triple!
Well, to some, a triple banana might be the ultimate jackpot, but only true banana aficionados know that it's a quadruple fruit like this that really hits the spot. After all, who doesn't want a lifetime supply of potassium? But if you thought those big bananas were beasts, then just feast your eyes on this super freaky kiwi. Like the bananas, 2 of these small, furry fruit have fused together at their ends, growing into one really long berry. It may look like Dr. Frankenstein really went to town on all this fruit, but this is actually a textbook example of fasciation. It's a rare genetic mutation where a flower's growing point changes from a round dome into a crescent shape, which fuses the buds of the resulting flower together. And if it's a fruit-bearing flower, this can result in anything from Siamese kiwis and banana bonanzas to huge fan-shaped pineapples. Who knew fasciation could be so fascinating? Finding a fused fruit is lucky, but it doesn't compare to getting your hands on truly big berries like these. Apparently, these phenomenally fruity units are jumbo blueberries, a GMO-free berry which can grow to the size of a quarter. I really want to believe these are real, but if they're only meant to be the size of a coin, just how small is that guy's hand? Or maybe their supreme size comes from a little fertilizer called Photoshop. If those dubious blueberries left a bad taste in your mouth, let me sweeten you up with a look at this supersized blackberry. Now, most blackberries are less than an inch long, so they're small enough to pop in your mouth. But this one is so big, I reckon you'd need to eat it like an apple. It's possible that this is a Kiowa blackberry, which is a strain of the fruit that blooms earlier and longer than regular ones. This means the berries can grow up to 3 inches long, which is almost twice the size of a normal blackberry. Although, with enough water and sunshine, even regular blackberry bushes can produce a breathtaking berry like this one. I mean, it's so close to the size of that egg, I'm not sure which one is more likely to hatch. I think we've seen enough fruit to count as getting our 5 a day. So let's take a look at a lottery winner with a little more crunch, like this fantastic find. It looks like one seriously big potato was put through a Lay's chip chopper lengthwise. And miraculously, it didn't break after it was fried, packed, and shipped off. I bet it made for one seriously satisfying snack. But as big as it is, it doesn't compare to the sheer size of this 7-inch monster, which was discovered in Britain back in 2020. This huge sausage-shaped chip came in a packet of otherwise normal onion rings. These O-shaped chips are made by pushing cornmeal and water through an extrusion machine to make a ribbon of dough, which is rapidly cut up into tiny rings. But a malfunction meant the dough wasn't cut, so this huge chip was squeezed through. While it could have been a huge quality control nightmare, it turned out to be one supersized gift for this little girl.
Now, when it comes to onion rings, chips just don't compare to the real deal.
Nothing beats biting into the crunchy, deep-fried batter of these super savory snacks. So just imagine this guy's delight when he ordered a regular bag of onion rings and discovered a whole donut nestled inside. Turns out it was actually 3 large onion layers that had been accidentally stuck together, battered, and deep-fried. But it looks so much like a donut that I'd have been tempted to hide it in a bag of actual donuts and give it to someone as an oniony prank. Though it's not just size that can make an onion ring stand out. Astoundingly, this guy pulled a malformed onion ring out of a bag only to discover it was shaped like a perfect treble clef. For those of us who aren't musically inclined, that's a kind of complexly curly musical note. Had someone in charge of that order arranged and fried them specifically like that? Or was it just a fabulous fluke? Either way, I bet it was music to that guy's mouth. When you're digging through a carton of chocolate chip ice cream, there's nothing better than coming across a big chunk of chocolate. Although, it turns out, the makers of Graeter's ice cream put the mother of all chips in their mixtures. This extra-large chocolate chip was found inside a carton of their black raspberry chip ice cream, much to the delight of their customer. Now, most companies sprinkle chips into their ice cream once the product is mixed, but at Graeter's, they pour liquid chocolate straight into the ice cream mix, which breaks up as it's churned together. This produces giant candy bar-sized chunks of chocolate in almost every carton. Well, I know what ice cream brands my loyalty will be serving from now on. Now, anyone who's ever tried to shift a few extra pounds will be familiar with Special K cereal. Even though it's marketed as low-fat cereal that can help you lose weight, it comes in a few flavors that make you think it won't be all that bad. But more often than not, the ratio of tasty treats to cardboard flakes is pretty pitiful. Except in this case, where one lucky dieter hit the jackpot and poured this huge chocolate chunk into their bowl. I mean, that diet may be well and truly lost, but they've definitely won the food lottery. All that talk of diets is making me hungry for junk food, like a mouth-watering serving of freshly fried fries, curly fries in particular. These curly kings of the junk food world are made by putting potatoes through a spiralizer, which cuts the potatoes into coils. They're usually a few inches long at most, but then there's this tightly coiled exception to the rule. All stretched out, it looks like it could be the same length as 3 huge potatoes. It's so big it almost looks fake. But it's not the only supersized fry out there. These McDonald's diners also hit the oddly long jackpot with their hilariously lengthy fries. They're almost long enough to make you wonder if there's someone in the back gluing fries end to end as a joke. Most of us are sadly aware that fast food burgers rarely look as appetizing as their promotional pictures. Instead of a plump bun filled with delicious-looking meats, sauces, and cheeses, you often end up with that burger's sad, squashed, ugly cousin. But not, amazingly, in this instance. Somehow, this lucky customer scored big with a bun that was so smooth and plump it looked like it was wearing a filter. I reckon it could give even the most popular beauty influencers a run for their money. But it isn't technically a burger. It's actually a McDonald's Filet-O-Fish sandwich. Unlike most of their other menu items, the Fishy Filet's buns are steamed, not fried. Not only does this make the buns fluffier, but it also gives their domes a flawless appearance. Well, most of them. When it comes to the world of sandwiches, I think we can all agree that bigger is definitely better. With that in mind, think of the sheer size of sandwiches this lucky customer will be able to make with his missliced loaf. It looks like it all went through the industrial slicer at the wrong angle, so it got sliced horizontally instead of vertically. While it won't fit in a bread box or a toaster, I guess this guy accidentally bought himself an excuse to make the biggest sandwiches he's ever had. Up next, we've got the mother of all pizza deals. Now, buying a 2-pack of frozen pizza isn't exactly exciting, but imagine opening a box like this and discovering your 2-pack had secretly been stuffed with a 3rd free pizza. If that had been me, I'd have taken this as a sign to go out and buy an actual lottery ticket. But if you really want a pizza, the food lottery action, then feast your eyes on this supreme surprise. Instead of a medley of meager toppings, this lucky pizza lover was surprised by a frozen pie that was made of more toppings than base. But how did such a blessed creation come into being? Maybe it was getting to the end of the day at the frozen pizza factory when a worker realized they had 10 pounds of toppings left, but only 1 crust. Or maybe the toppings were put on mechanically, but the machine suddenly exploded. Got any other theories as to how this supremely stuffed crust came into being? Let me know down in the comments. I'm genuinely curious and hungry. Have you ever seen a friend snacking on a huge bag of candy and asked if you could have just one? But when you pull it out, it's got another sweet stuck to it. That's still technically one, right?
Fist bump!
Well, imagine reaching into the bag and pulling this out. Whoa! I think I'd play the classic Gimli defense here.
That still only counts as one!
But how come this conga line of gummy bears are all attached to one another? Well, Haribo gummy candies like these start out life as molds pressed into powdered cornstarch, and then the gelatin mixture that makes them is poured in. Once cooked, the gummies are sifted out and the powder molds disintegrate, leaving the gummies intact without the risk of them sticking to anything. But in this case, it looks like too much mixture was poured in, and the overflow connected them into one long line. Although they're not the only candy to be sweetly misshapen. Swizzle's Drumstick Squashies are a soft version of the company's famous milk and raspberry flavored lollipop candy. But these soft candies go through the same cornstarch creation process as Haribo gummies, which you can tell by this squashy supreme that someone found in their bag. Is it just me, or does it kinda look like a giraffe? Hopefully it doesn't taste like one. Now, America's favorite bitter treat, Sour Patch Kids, also go through this cornstarch creation. That means, every so often, bags of Sour Patch Kids can contain colossal Sour Patch adults like these. I bet chowing down on those super sour abominations would be like eating a lemon. Which of these winners do you think hit the tastiest jackpot? And which one would you most like to take a bite out of? Let me know down in the comments below, and thanks for watching.